What is up, everybody? Welcome to Crunch Time. Glorious second Crunch Time of the day. Thursday slate. Just a massive slate. Massive. So much happening. Geez. Yeah, it is. It's 3 games, right? That's a whole.
It is absolutely a whole entire 3 games.
We got a whole whopping 3 games, but we're joined by the very sharpest knife in the cheese knife drawer. That is Cheese himself, Senor Fromage, as they say.
Yeah. And what's nice is it really doesn't take a very sharp knife
to get
things done. So, yeah.
Right. Also, Senor is Spanish and Fromage is French. So I don't really cross my wires.
You're
there.
trying. That's all that matters. Yeah.
That's what this show is going to be about. It's about just struggling and trying. Because I got a feeling it's going to be a bit of a struggle on your end as well.
Yeah.
To break down.
You know, I'll tell you what, honestly, as 3 game slates go, it's actually pretty great. Oh. Like, it's very evenly balanced. It could, like, usually when you see a 3 game slate, it's like there's, the one thing here and the one thing here. It's actually, like, you couldn't really ask for a better 3 gamer. It's still only 3 games, but, as they go, I really don't mind it.
Okay. Well, that is positive news. I'm glad to hear that. There are no weather concerns. The winds are blowing out to left in Wrigley. Am I making that up? I did the forecast.
Yeah, no, the Wrigley wind is playing into it a little bit. It's 13, 14 miles an hour is what you had, and that's that's helpful. It doesn't blow that game out of proportion. It basically brings that game up alongside the other ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looking at the over unders here, and we got 9, 8.5, 8.
Yeah, and if you look, let me pull up the lineups page. If you look
over unders, I screwed up. People don't call it over unders. The totals.
Yeah,
but if you look call at it over unders.
Don't be a nerd.
Right.
The like the team totals, which is what I like to look at. Mm-hmm. Only Texas is down under 4, and the others, I mean, they're all really closely bunched. Everyone's right around 4.5 runs expected. It really works out well. I think there's 5 teams. I mean, you can play Texas too, but really 5 teams that are relatively even-ish, and I think 4 pitchers that you can play. So yeah.
Okay. Well, we like to start with the old battery, half of the battery. We like to start with the old pitcher position here. So what are we doing on the mound, good sir?
So the closest thing to chalk we're going to have anywhere is Framber Valdez. It's similarly weird chalk. Like this morning, we talked about the weird chalk of Jordan Montgomery, and it turned out like you would expect. Like it wasn't very good. Like he just, Valdez is better on this slate than Montgomery was on the early slate, but it's a similar situation where, I mean, kind of a low upside pitcher, and certainly not the kind of guy you'd love to see as chalk based on his skill set. For that reason, I do absolutely prefer paying up to Zach Gallen. Valdez is certainly air quotes safer because of all his ground balls. But even in the win, like Gallen has been pitching at basically another level than all these guys this year. So I'm in on Gallen. There is some risk. There's risk with everyone on this slate. So like on Fanduel where you're choosing one, I definitely want Gallen if you can get him instead of Valdez.
Okay. But on DK, you need 2.
DK, you need 2. So if you're looking at, like, it's pretty pricey to play Gallen Valdez, but there's also plenty of value bats. So the other 2 guys are in the Boston-Seattle game. George Kirby, this is his 3rd career start, like really high-end prospect that should be great sooner than later. And his first his first game, he was great. And then last week he got one strikeout in 4 innings. It was he's a kid. We don't know what we're getting, and it's not a great matchup. Whereas Rich Hill is cheaper than Kirby. He's actually been pretty good recently. He's got a little bit better matchup. So that's the other chalk pitcher. Like, if you can't afford Gallen, Valdez, like Hill is the next chalk pitcher. Like, those 3 are going to make up the bulk of the ownership. We're showing some ownership on Stroman. I don't really see it. He's been out for 3 weeks with, as you could tell us about, with COVID. He hasn't pitched since May 1st. So I'm pretty wary of the leash here. They haven't said a pitch count, but I'm certain he's on some kind of pitch count. So personally, I don't like Stroman at all. I would rather play Hill or Kirby. And then, Glenn Otto. Yeah, sure. It's a small enough slate. It's viable, but pretty much I want as much Gallen as I can get. Valdez is the best, most likely to be good for his price, but the ownership is high. And I think Kirby has more ceiling than Valdez, and Rich Hill really has a fairly similar likely range of outcomes to Valdez. So I don't think you have to go crazy with Valdez chalk.
Okay. We did kind of just like touch on FanDuel pretty quickly, and you were just like, I want to pay up for Gallen. Are any of these cheaper guys viable over on FanDuel, or do we not need to because there's not enough money to be spent? Yada yada.
You can use Rich Hill. There are a few lineup builds if you want a high end Houston Boston stack. Rich Hill is useful, and I think he's affordable. I would definitely not mess with Stroman or Otto on FanDuel. But yeah, there are some lineups. I do have Rich Hill in a couple lineups because that is salary's not tough by any means, but there's a few builds you can't get to without him.
Okay. Speaking of what you're doing on FanDuel, good time to note that FanDuel is a sponsor for the show. Sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state. New users get a risk-free bet up to $1,000, and FanDuel Sportsbook users take advantage of that bonus with their first-time bet. So you've got good stuff going on there. Also, a smattering of other sports ongoing. We got some NBA. Our NBA expert survey is free tonight for the showdown, Celtics and Heat. Yeah, Celtics Heat. So go to little RotoGrinders.com, NBA tab, scroll down, find the expert survey, and check it out because it's free. Also, go ahead, play some hockey, and just put all your money on the Tampa Bay Lightning because we're going to win. Yeah, that's what we do. Okay, Cheese, let's talk about the bats here. I feel like that was a excellent breakdown of what we can expect for the arms. But how about some of these you mentioned? It's all viable almost.
Yeah, it really is. So as far as stacks go, Houston tops the list. They should be the chalkiest, but there's a little bit of chalk everywhere. I mean, the fewer games you get, the more everything gets played.
Sure.
But like Alvarez and Tucker, and probably Altuve are going to take up a lot of ownership. And Houston is the top team, but they're really not in a different tier than Boston. I prefer Arizona over the Cubs, and I think everyone else is going to when it comes right down to it. But I'm not sure Arizona gets enough ownership, and they're kind of my favorite team based on where I think they're going to land. Mm-hmm. Personally, I like them second. I have Houston and then Arizona and then Boston. And I also quite like Seattle. Kind of more mini stacks with righty power. Like I love Ty France and Suarez, which we'll get to in the positions, but I like Seattle over the Cubs as a full stack. But certainly even if Gallen's pitching well, which I expect him to, if you give a little credence to that win, maybe you get a couple Cubs homers too.
Sure.
And then, so the Rangers are just the leftover team that the one thing about Valdez is he can sometimes walk a bunch of guys. And even with 70% ground balls, if you're walking a bunch of guys, just a couple of piddly little ground balls that find a hole and you've got a big inning. So it's not crazy to stack Texas on a slate like this.
Okay. That was a question saying, Valdez's floor to ceiling is pretty significant here where he could potentially get roughed up, even though he's a ground ball pitcher.
Yeah. There's nothing magical about him. Like it takes a lot of BABIP to hurt him because of the way he pitches, but I mean, it's totally doable.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. I suppose we go position by position at this point, my man, and we like
All
to
right.
start at the catcher spot, and then FanDuel. If there's not a catcher, we'll just save it for first base.
Well, I'll say there are catchers. Wilson Contreras is kind of the top Cubs bat that you might want to play even if you're not playing any other Cubs. Dalton Varsho is far and away my favorite catcher. I like him on both sides. You can also play him outfield on FanDuel. But then just playing catcher-wise on DraftKings, both those guys are over 5K. And we do have Yan Gomes in that win game, if you like, at 2,600. Or Mitch Garver's back. He's kind of my favorite bat against Valdez and Maldonado in your Houston stacks. Really not a bad position.
Okay, let's go to first.
Christian Walker, my favorite guy by a lot. People are slowly catching on to how well he's hitting the ball this year, and it's starting to come to fruition. The surface stats are starting to catch up with that he's hitting the ball really hard and in the air. I also like Ty France a lot. Those are my two go-to plays at first base on both sites, and they're quite affordable as well.
Okay, easy enough. Second,
it gets interesting. So FanDuel has some multi-position eligibility. You can play France at second base, which I really like. Altuve is your chalk, and it's pretty good chalk. But I'm not even sure you have to have Altuve in a Houston stack. I mean, you can do some other things. Ian Happ is also a second base eligible on FanDuel. I like Ketel Marte. I really like everything about Arizona. So I do like Ketel Marte. And then Trevor Story is kind of sitting there as well, that I'm not sure he should be, a third of the ownership of Altuve, but that's what we projected. And I think it's actually might end up like that. So I don't really love Altuve as a one-off, and I only kind of like him in Houston stacks, honestly.
Okay, third.
So we've got two high-end third basemen that should soak up a lot of ownership, Devers and Bregman. Devers is my favorite Boston bat, and I would call him pretty much good chalk. I think Bregman is good chalk too. Like, I really do like both those guys, but I love Eugenio Suarez as well. Now FanDuel, you can play Suarez at short. Like, they have there's a lot of ways you can finagle your FanDuel lineup to get the positions you want. And there's not as much need for a cheap Abraham Toro on FanDuel, although you can do it. I forgot to mention him at second base on DraftKings. He's second, third as a good cheap option. But as much as I like Devers and Bregman, I think Suarez is probably my favorite guy for the salary on the slate.
Shortstop.
So again, on FanDuel, you can do Suarez at short, which I like a lot. Bogarts is kind of the obvious chalkiest play. You've also got Story there again on FanDuel. Houston, they have a little bit of an unusual lineup with Mlb Diaz in the middle. He's priced up on DraftKings now, so I don't love him there, but he's priced way down on FanDuel, and he's eligible at like every position. So if you need a last cheap plug-in, Diaz on FanDuel is a pretty good one. If you're stacking Texas, you probably want to play Seager and just say, hey, they're going to get into the bullpen and play Seager. But otherwise, if I'm spending up, like Xander chalk is kind of the thing.
All right. That brings us to the outfield.
Theoretically, the two very obvious chalky plays should be Alvarez and Tucker, especially Alvarez. It's hard not to play him because you can just really afford him. Even if you're doing Gallen, Valdez, there's so many cheap plays elsewhere that you can play Alvarez. And that's exactly why he's going to be like 50% owned. And he's the best play on the slate. And I don't think you have to fade him personally. Tucker is a lot cheaper. And for that reason, I think the common build is, so let me start with Alvarez Tucker, then I'll see what else I do. I think they're both very good chalk, and I'm on board. To get off of them, I would say, like, there's nothing sneaky about JD Martinez, but like, we're showing his ownership is 20% less than Alvarez Tucker. He's kind of the guy that can match them in that tier. I think you could play Adolis Garcia against Valdez, but like I don't love any Texas bats. I would rather fish around in that Cubs Diamondbacks game. Varsho is outfield eligible. I really like David Peralta. I really like Pavin Smith. On DraftKings especially, I really like Alek Thomas. That's like all Arizona outfield. Like all those guys can hit a home run. You can play them together. You can play them on their own. I'm a fan of all of them. I think on the Cubs side, Suzuki and Happ are both very high-end plays. So basically, the Houston chalk in the outfield, and if you're not doing the Houston chalk, I like my outfielders from the Arizona Cubs game, and I slightly prefer the infielders in the Boston-Seattle game. Okay. So, yeah, that's kind of where it all lands. Like, it really is a lot of good plays for a 3-game slate.
Yeah.
And because of that, even though there's some chalk, like it has to get somewhat spread out. I think Alvarez and Tucker, and then some combination of Devers and Bregman, and maybe Altuve, that's kind of all the chalk we can really have. And then just keep in mind on a 3-game slate, like a low owned player is like 20% owned. So it's not like you're getting some huge edge.
Sure.
And that's part of why I think I'm still happy playing a 50% owned Alvarez, because it's not like you're getting a 2% owned, say a Suzuki or something. Like all these guys that would be 2% on a huge slate are still 15, 20% owned. So there's nothing sneaky about it. So I'm a little happier just playing the best plays.
Okay. You're playing single entry. You're trying to win a tournament. What is your main stack? I feel like maybe the answer is Arizona, but
it is definitely Arizona. And or a double, like a 4-4 Arizona, Seattle.
Okay. I like it. Cheese, we're going to take a few questions and then we're going to get out of here. And I've got a feeling.
Tonight's going to be a good night. You got to let the beat catch up. There's a break in between when they say that.
I was looking for the ooh. But yes, I got a feeling we're going to get out of here before lock, because we're going to hang out for as many questions as we've got. I'm not just going to, play. What is this? I'm not going to play, twiddle my thumbs.
Twiddle your thumbs. You're having your own personal thumb war.
Yeah. All right, let's take some questions. Hey, Roth, are the winds in Chicago going to remain constant all night, consistent all night? Yes, they are. It's not going to be like they drop dramatically through the game or anything. Are
there going to be any nice gusts by chance?
You want to look at it?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Absolutely. Tell us about the wind.
We got the time. I'll tell you that. We got the time to find out. Well, there's already 16 mile per hour sustained. This is the current measurement at Chicago Midway Airport. 16 mile per hour sustained winds out of the south, which would be blowing out to left, with a 25 mile per hour gust.
Yeah.
And as we kind of look ahead, we'll see if, it looks like those gusts, if anything, should, be right around 25 for the remainder of the night.
Mm-hmm. Bonjour, Arizona.
Bon voyage, baseballs. Let's see. Got a few questions coming in. I'm kind of jumping on the YouTube chat as well. I really feel like Bobby Dahlbeck homers.
That's a reasonable play. Like he's cheap, and there's not a lot of first basemen out there. I do really like Christian Walker. But like, I'm definitely playing Dahlbeck in Red Sox stacks, and I wouldn't talk you off of playing him even on his own.
Okay. Delo Rose says, "Hey, I messed up. I'm late." He didn't say he messed up, but he did. So I'm going to throw that in there. He messed up. He's late. What are your favorite stacks? The answer is Houston is your number one. The Diamondbacks are your number two, mostly because you don't think their ownership is going to come in quite as high as you think it probably should. Yeah. And then was Boston. It the Yankees? Yeah, Boston. Yeah, that was.
Houston should be the chalk, and I do like them the best. Like, who probably scores the most runs? Houston, but with ownership accounted for, I would say Arizona.
Right. Monster says, "Hey, has Alek Thomas been underappreciated?" It seems like he might have been. I don't know who he is, so he is certainly underappreciated by me.
Yeah, well, he's an Arizona rookie
Okay.
playing in the outfield. He's cheap and he's good. And yes, I like him in general, and I like him tonight.
Okay. Dan Jan says Valdez is going to be 72% owned. There's no way I'm playing him with one entry, not a chance, which does bring up my favorite word and yours as well, leverage. If that guy bombs and you go with Texas, like, you got it made if that happens.
But you might not, because the Valdez bombing still probably comes with no home runs. That's the big problem. Like, a Valdez bomb is like 4 walks and 6 singles and 4 runs. Like, that's the problem with it. So you're really playing for he bombs and then somehow they get those home runs against the bullpen, which is totally viable. Like, sure. I totally understand the reasoning to play a Texas stack, but like, I mean, we're talking about like an all-time best ground ball pitcher kind of thing. Like 70% is basically unheard of. So it's really tough to pick on that.
Okay, good note. Dan Jan, who, by the way, is playing a Texas stack, says, is going Hill Gallon okay in DK single entry, or am I being too cute? He's already doing a Texas stack, which is pretty cute.
Yeah, no, that's not too cute at all. In fact, because if you're playing Texas stack and you can't play Valdez, those are really the next 2 best pitchers. Yeah. So I would say definitely not too cute. I like it.
All right, Raymond, FanDuel GPP last man standing, Ketel Marte or Bonjour, Monsieur French?
Yeah, man, I love them both. I would play France.
Okay. BHB, DK Cash, Cheese, Varsho, and Perdomo.
There's a Perdomo. That's probably what.
Perdomo, thank you. We're missing an O there. Varsho and Perdomo, or Gomes and Bogarts?
I would play Varsho, Perdomo, I think.
Okay, great. Let's scroll down over here. All right, caught up on those questions. Ocean trivia. I don't know if I've brought this ocean trivia fact up before. Generally, if I bring up ocean trivia, I'm a little boozed up. So I don't recall. But this is a good one. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
A killer whale, not a whale.
So I've heard that, not from you, though.
Okay.
But what is it? But can you tell us what it is if it's not a whale?
It is actually the world's largest dolphin. It's not classified as a whale. It's classified as a dolphin. And then I did a deep dive onto what is the difference between whales and dolphins in general. And it's not a very good difference. It's basically like the size of them. So by being the world's biggest dolphin, it's pretty damn close to just being a whale. But it's not. It's a dolphin.
Yeah.
So
well, there you go.
That you knew. I'm impressed. Cheese.
I mean, I know things about oceans.
Yeah, it's
ocean creatures. Yeah,
yeah. It's the things you learn in 5th grade. Just stick with you.
I just know killer whales are close enough to sharks that you just stay away from them.
Yeah, that's a good move. Yeah. Aside says, hey, what are your thoughts on Rich Hill on FanDuel if it means getting a high-end Houston 4-man stack? Can you go Rich Hill on if you're? Yeah?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Excellent. Let's check over on the YouTube here. See, Monster says an orca is a dolphin. What? Question mark, exclamation.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for. Yeah. It's not the baseball takes or pronunciations of player names. I'll tell you that. It's ocean facts. All right. Let's see. Raymond, FanDuel GPP. I feel like maybe we got this question. We did, but we'll do it again because there's probably roughly 7 people on this small slate watching. So we should answer their questions. FanDuel GPP, do you like Kike to complete a Boston stack or France as a one-off? You said, bonjour, monsieur, France.
I feel like he edited it to be a different France question because that's slightly differently worded than
he did edit the earlier question and then re-entered it in. So, okay.
So, honestly, I like France. Like, I don't think you just have to stack on a 3-game slate. Like, take the guy you think hits a home run. Personally, I think that's France ahead of Kiki.
Okay, great. Here's an important question. Delarose says, what is your favorite burger topping? There's a lot of ways you can go with this.
I mean, if bacon counts, which it does, I would say bacon. Meat on meat.
Yeah, but does cheese? Because cheese
counts because
Yeah, I need like a really not spicy, but like a sharp cheddar cheese. I like a sharp cheddar cheese. Like I can't even do a burger without that. So I guess that's my answer, but that's kind of a lame one.
Yeah. And then, so if we're not doing meat on meat, I would say onion would be
onion.
My next choice.
You know what I really like are when they do the little fried onion deals on it, like a little fried onion straws, or just give a little texture to it. Really big fan of that. Dan Jen says, is there a pitcher outside of Hill, Gallen, or Valdez that breaks the slate? That's a good question.
I mean, almost certainly no, but George Kirby theoretically could. Like if someone could, it's Kirby.
Raymond says, yes, bacon hands down. I used to be all about that, but I don't know. I don't mess with the bacon on my burger.
My doctor doesn't love it for me, but this is really good.
All right. It's fine. Monster says, hey, Kev, hope the family feels better soon. Thank you. Yeah, me too, man.
If you guys weren't here earlier, we had a very sort of young Rudy Gobert March 2020 moment at the end of crunch time. Like the daughter with the COVID is just like, I have COVID. Let me take that mic.
He just ran right into the room. My wife has COVID, so she can't fight her. She's like knocked out. My 2-year-old just barged in here basically naked and just grabbed the mic and started drooling on it. That's good. Had a mask nearby, thankfully. All right. Dan Jen. So with that being said, is Kirby Hill, and this is going back to like the who could break the slate, is Kirby Hill a way to get different?
Yeah. If your goal is to get different without being just crazy silly, then yes, I think that would be probably the most different. If you just take those 4 top pitchers, I think that pairing would be the least popular.
Okay. We might end it on this, because this is what I like to hear. Cody says, hey, I appreciate the work, guys. Long day with 2 sessions. Plus, you're waking up early. You're doing all the writing. He says, crunch time and the musings are the highlight of my day every day. That is fantastic to hear.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I must apologize to the people that apparently I did not save the evening portion of my musings earlier in the day. Like I had it done and posted before the first crunch time. And apparently I didn't save it. So it was not up for a lot of the afternoon. So that was just me being silly and being sleepy. But
was it gone and then you had to redo the whole thing? Or was it just
I had it saved in Word. So I just copy and paste. I didn't have to retype it. We just would not have happened.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, no, we're not redoing that whole thing. I will second that. Crunch time is also the highlight of my day. So, I'm always happy to be hanging out here doing that. I think it's time. Cheese, we've answered all the questions and we've given all the info on this short slate. So, with the 2-man booth, I always like to give the other host a chance to give a little goodbye. And most of the time they hate doing it. So go for it.
Au revoir.
Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah. It's been fun twice today. It's been fun. And that's really all I have to say. I think we're having some Chinese food tonight, so that'll be fun.
Excellent. What's your order, if you don't mind me asking?
I like a lot of different things. I think probably beef with broccoli tonight.
Okay,
will be the choice.
Yeah. I can't go away from General Tso's. Like I know I should branch out and try other things, but I just get that every single time. Especially, I got a place near me that does dark meat in the General Tso's. Sometimes they'd use the white meat and it's just a little bit like dried out. But if you use the dark meat and then you fry it up in the General Tso's, ooh, buddy, that's good stuff. All right. Now that we've had official food talks, whale talks, and baseball talks, it is time to get on out of here. So for Cheese and for myself and for our wonderful production crew working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow, maybe multiple times. I don't know. You have been crunched.